Good evening, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. Hi, Jennifer. How are you,
Hey,
honey?
hi Sandy. I'm good. How are
Hi.
you doing?
Hi, everyone. I see Jennifer was there already. With great to see you. Dystopian night, kind
I
of,
know.
kind of. It's not super dystopian night. I put together some things. Just I didn't put a lot into it. Jennifer, it's what you sent me, and then I just added, a couple of other
Your
things.
special touch. A
Yeah,
little bit
I've
of
just
Sandy special
a little
sauce.
bit, yeah. Well, yesterday was one of those days. Paul's thing was last minute, and then I didn't expect my water heater to blow out and then flood my basement through the wall. It was a mess, and that was all when I was trying to get ready to get that done. And there was no way I was going to cancel it. I didn't give a shit how many buckets of water I had were in the basement. So it was,
Oh,
but
shoot.
it was good. So today, guys, it's a kind of a quiet. Hopefully I'm not overmodulated like I was yesterday. I'm trying to work on those things too. So Kim's here, and everybody's here. Cindy and Dolores and Robert Lloyd. Hi, Robert, Anthony, and Raza, Rich, Diana, Max. Okay, the gang is joining us. So Jennifer, what's going on with you
Well, I've
on
been
movie
pretty
night?
interested watching The Cop, and actually, I was
Me too.
really kind of surprised how totally abrupt climate change they went with the opening ceremony there. Did you see the opening
I
ceremony
did.
of The Cop?
I
I
did.
sent it over to you.
I
I
did.
mean, it's
Oh, I've
kind
been
of
watching every day.
interesting. They're not denying anything. And it's, I don't know. I have a mix of kind of like some of the speeches are inspiring. David Attenborough's thing was totally inspiring. I really loved his thing.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
it's kind of insipid. I mean, it's like people trying. So let's see what they can do. I know there are a lot of protests there. I know Paul's there and Jason Box is there and Greta is there and all those guys. But those guys are almost more of the sideshow.
They are.
It's been
I
really interesting to watch it. What do you think? That
I
president of
watched a
Barbados
lot.
was cool.
Oh, she was. Everybody's talking about her.
She was totally
I
cool.
watched
Yeah.
as much as I could. I've been having it on YouTube with my headphones on and whatever I've been doing. But the thing about David Attenborough is his speech was good, but he has to talk to the corporations. He's talking to the corporations. He can't really say, listen, we have to knock it off. We have to stop growth. We have to, stop having babies. We have to make very serious changes like that. He can't do that.
Yeah.
I wish he could do that.
Yeah, that's another thing, Sandy. It's always interesting to hear what they're not talking about. And what
Hmm.
they're not talking about is population. I haven't heard, I mean, I
Yep.
haven't watched all the maybe somebody's talking about population, but, yes, technology, yes, of course, carbon dioxide, oil, coal, all of that. But above and beyond is population and how it's just exponentially expanding. And that in itself should be an indication to anybody, but they don't seem to talk about that.
No, they talk about what I've seen from the island nations and from other countries is food security and
Yeah.
equality and all, and it's wonderful. But
Yeah.
the thing is, we in the world and in the United States with the religious right, we're going towards a anti-woman, anti-science time. We're going towards a time where women won't have choices, so they'll be having babies. They'll be
Oh
having
God,
babies when they don't
such
all
a
over the
dark
world.
time.
And then
Oh my
when
God.
Christianity goes and proselytizes through all these countries and wants to stop access to birth control, and it's 2021 for fuck's sake. It just should be different
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, and it's our most desperate hour. It's kind of like, did you ever see Star Wars back in the day, right?
Yeah.
The first one, Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. And people should be able to connect, but
Oh,
they're
Jennifer.
just not connecting. They're not connecting. It's like very much still business as usual. It's kind of like, I don't know. I get a funny feeling about that. Do you know what I'm
Uh,
talking about?
Oh yeah, I do. I think you should say it again. It's cute. Say it again. Say,
What?
"Help me. Oh,
Oh,
help me. Oh,
oh.
Juan Kenobi."
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
I had to do it. All right. I don't know. We
It's
have a little
hysterical.
weirdness with the internet tonight. I'm also, testing my volume here to make sure anybody out there you want to tell me if I'm overmodulating, please do. It
Oh
seems
yeah.
like that's a big problem of mine. Uh, so after we do have we have the movie. It's movie night. That's what we said. It's kind of dystopian, somewhat not, somewhat is. I can't play you guys Soylent Green. I can't play something and get a copyright strike. I'm already on one. So I have a
Right.
copyright strike. I get copyright warnings all the time, but because we're not monetized, it doesn't matter if we were monetized. And that what'll happen is if sometimes if I get a copyright warning, they'll put ads on it. So then the person that's claiming it, they'll get whatever money it is because I'm not monetized.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't care. I'm not going to monetize. Hi, Tom Hall. Hi, Old Sage Joe. Hi, Tina. Oh, the gang is joining. So it's movie night. I hope you have popcorn because actually I'm going to get up from here when the movie's on and I'm going to go lay in bed. I might go lay in bed and watch it. I don't know. I mean, this runs itself. As long as the cat doesn't come in and step on the keyboard, we're good to go.
All right.
So, what do you think, Jen?
Well, I
You have
can't
any?
wait.
Let Jennifer act it. Hunter says she's great. Yes, she is. With
What?
the
Oh.
sexy. Oh, one. Oh, Jennifer, do your sexy little thing. Oh, it's so cute. Yes, it is.
Enough, enough. Hey, it's amazing that I can still kind of, dole it out at this
You
age,
got it,
so.
baby. You got it. Oh yeah. Ah, okay. Rich says,
Oh.
Sandy acted out. You're Charles Heston and Jen is Edward G. Oh my God. I can't handle it.
Oh.
All right. So are all you guys ready for a movie? You ready for the movie? All right. It is movie night. I am getting rid of us and we are going to the movies.
You've taught us a lot about eco anxiety. I'm speaking now as a father of three girls that are kind of suffering the eco anxiety, and I would like to listen to. I want, if you can reflect on listening to everything that has just came before, right? The optimism and the challenges. How does this make you feel as a young person in the climate movement?
Thank you for asking me that question. I wish we started every conversation with asking one another how we feel. I frankly feel exhausted, frustrated, despairing at times, and motivated by the people who often aren't in these rooms, in fact, the people who have been historically excluded from these spaces. I invite you to look around now and ask, where are the young people? We are out in the streets protesting. We are protesting because we are angry, because we feel disillusioned, because we feel frustrated, and we are right to, because we have been raised to place our faith in institutions, in governments, in leaders who have been elected to safeguard our future, to safeguard all of life on this planet. And yet we have seen a failure of leadership. We have seen tokenism, we have seen an incremental approach, we've seen sustainability treated as a tick-boxing activity, and when we express our anxiety, when we express the feelings that keep us up at night, we are left out of the room. We're not being invited into these spaces. And so I think a lot of young people feel despair. In fact, in my organization, Force of Nature, we recently contributed to research that surveyed over 10,000 young people across 10 countries around the world. 56% of those young people agreed that they felt the future was doomed. And disproportionately, the young people who felt hopeless about the future are the young people who are experiencing the climate crisis today, not as a future threat, but who are losing their homes to wildfires, to flooding, to hurricanes. And so there is despair, an enormous amount of it. And the rise of eco-anxiety does not stem exclusively from the enormity and complexity of these crises, but from perceived inaction in the face of them. And yet I find courage and hope in the young people who, in spite of being excluded from historic corridors of power, have chosen to take agency and power back upon ourselves. Because I don't find hope in traditional spaces. There's a reason this is COP26 and we're still having these conversations. I find hope in Indigenous leaders who have been fighting this struggle for many more decades than I've been alive. I find hope in young voices. I find hope in the allies who have committed their entire lives to this fight. I do not find hope in corporate greenwash. I do not find hope in empty promises made far enough into the future that they require no immediate action. On my way up to Glasgow, I read that based on current commitments made by over 100 countries, including the UK, the US, and my home country of Australia, we are on track for a 16% increase in global greenhouse gas emissions over the next 10 years. This is when the climate science tells us we need to reduce emissions by 45%. So nothing that is not transformation is tokenism, and there is no hope in another 10 years of tokenism.
Thank you, Chloe.
3 degrees. It can be the difference between snow and sleet, wearing a jacket or not. In your day-to-day life, it may not seem significant, but 3 degrees of global warming would be catastrophic.
Heat waves, droughts, extreme precipitation, even fire. 3 degrees of warming is really disastrous.
The scary thing is, the world is well on its way there. Since the Industrial Revolution, the Earth has warmed between 1.1 and 1.3 degrees Celsius.
This is a problem that babies you pass in the street will have to live with.
Children born today are up to 7 times more likely to face extreme weather than their grandparents. If global temperatures do rise by 3 degrees, what would their world look like? Rising sea levels, desertification. Hollywood has always enjoyed imagining the end of the world. While blockbusters like this are clearly fiction, this film will show the scenario we all face, unless more drastic measures are taken to stop burning fossil fuels. In some parts of the world, the effects of inaction are already clear. The slums of Bangladesh's capital are filling up with climate migrants. Minara comes from Bola district, an area in southern Bangladesh. There, like many other parts of the country, rivers swollen by heavier rain and melting Himalayan glaciers are washing away people's homes. Many, like her, have lost everything.
বোলার বাড়ি তো জায়গা জমিনের শেষ ছিল না, অনেক জায়গা জমিন ছিল, অনেক ফসলের জমিন ছিল, বাড়ির জায়গা অনেক ছিল, বাড়িতে অনেক ফলমূল গাছ, বিভিন্ন ধরনের অনেক কিছু ছিল, সব কিছু নিজের গাছের জিনিস মানে খেতে পারতাম। এখন তো আর ওগুলা খাইতে পারে না, ওগুলো তো নাই, নদী 3 ভাঙ্গা দেওয়ার পরে ঢাকা চলে আইতে হয়েছে। বাড়িতে থেকে তো অনেক আরাম ছিলাম, মানে খুবই খারাপ লাগতো, মানে সহ্য করার মতো না, ঘর দুয়ার ভাঙ্গা নিয়ে চলে যাওয়ার মতো টাইম ছিল না।
1.1 to 1.3 degrees of global warming has already transformed Minara's life. It's one of the reasons why so many migrants like her are moving to the city each year. Nearly 400,000 according to the last estimate. And climate models show there could be much worse to come. Climate scientist Yuri Rogel has spent the last 10 years modeling future climate scenarios for the United Nations.
The models we use to carry out this exercise really represent the state of the art of our current knowledge of climate change and where we are heading.
Yuri's projections use data collected by hundreds of scientists around the world.
Here, this is the 3 degree level And so there is at least a 1 in 4 chance that under current policies we would hit 3 degrees by the end of the century.
This is just one of the scenarios Yuri looks at. Another one imagines that all policy promises are kept. The most optimistic assumes that all promises have been kept and net zero targets are met.
Where our best estimate ends up around 2 degrees at the end of the century, there is still a 1 in 20 chance that we end up with 3 degrees instead. One wouldn't be entering a plane if there is a 1 in 20 chance that the plane will crash.
A rise of 3 degrees would affect everyone. Even wealthy cities and rich countries wouldn't be immune to the consequences. European capitals like Paris and Berlin would bake under more extreme heat waves. Frequent storm surges in New York could turn parts of the city desolate.
In many ways, cities magnify, intensify climate events. Cities are hotter than the places around them. They tend to be more vulnerable to flooding, and you can get a really bad event in a city in a way that you can't in the countryside.
And because of their denser populations, disasters in a city affect far more people. Some cities might be badly prepared for the changes coming, but they have the means to adapt.
Cities tend to be wealthier than surrounding places. They have a lot of amenities. A city that has taken seriously the risks of a 3-degree world wouldn't necessarily be a worse place to be in a 3-degree world. But a city that hasn't prepared for these sort of eventualities, that might be a really nasty place.
So far, many developed cities have gotten off lightly, but some rural parts of the world are suffering disproportionately. Smallholders, small-scale farmers, are particularly vulnerable to climate change, and there are over 600 million around the world. Smallholders with farms under 2 hectares produce around 1/3 of the global food supply. Central America's dry corridor supports a mix of smallholdings and medium-sized farms. Sandwiched between the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, the area is prone to droughts. Israel Ramirez Rivera is a smallholder in Guatemala. Here, climate change is making the dry seasons longer and more severe.
Digamos que esta es la mazorca más grande que pudo dar esta parcela.
He depends on his crops of corn and beans, but they're getting harder to grow.
Las montañas a nuestros alrededores no nos tenían casi alimentos nativos, cual ahora ya no hay, ¿verdad? Por el tema del cambio climático que viene afectando, ¿verdad?
Nearly 2/3 of the smallholders in the dry corridor now live in poverty.
El impacto que nos ha dado es de que a raíz de todo eso que ha venido a la desnutrición de los niños, se nos han muerto varios, a los cultivos más que todo, porque la canícula viene más a pegarnos más duros. Entonces ahí se nos marchita y ahí ya no hay tales de que vamos a producir un alimento en abastecimiento, ¿verdad?
Severe droughts in Central America are now 4 times more likely than they were last century.
Muchas familias de acá, pues, a unos han intentado emigrar en Estados Unidos, la desesperación económica, ¿verdad? Incluso aparte deudas, todo eso ha motivado de que los vecinos de esta localidad emprendan su viaje.
Migration from Guatemala to the United States has quadrupled since 1990. Not all of this has been due to climate change, but longer droughts would force even more to move. In a 3-degree world, annual rainfall in this region could drop by up to 14%. At 3 degrees, over 1/4 of the world's population could endure extreme droughts for at least a month of the year. Northern Africa could see droughts that last for years at a time. But for some, too much water will be the problem. 10% of the world's population lives on a coastline that's less than 10 meters above sea level. For these coastal inhabitants, a 3-degree world would spell disaster. By 2100, global sea levels could have climbed by half a meter from 2005 levels. Low-lying cities like Lagos would be especially vulnerable, with up to a third of the population displaced. And in Fiji, rising waters are already upending lives.
You can see the graveyard there. It's all underwater now due to this rising sea level and climate change.
The village of Toguru in Fiji is being swallowed by the sea. Barney Dunn, the village headman, has seen over half the village disappear. Relatives' houses have been abandoned and family graves are now underwater.
We've been asked by the government to relocate, but no one wants to relocate because we have our great-great-grandparents down there in the sea. This is the place we've been brought up in. It's not easy to live.
Past attempts to build a seawall haven't worked, but Barney sees building a new one as the village's only hope.
If they do that, maybe we can save whatever is left. But if we don't have the seawall, then it will keep eroding, and time will come, maybe in 10, 15 years, Toguru will be all eroded.
Rising seas also mean storms cause more floods, and many more countries could suffer. The Philippines and Myanmar are just 2 countries that will also see an increase in storm surges in a 3-degree world. To escape, many will move, often to urban areas. Half the world's population already lives in cities, almost a third in slums. For them, a 3-degree world could be deadly. Minara has moved to Dhaka to escape the impact of climate change, but life could get even worse for her.
অনেক কষ্ট হইতেছে দিনে যখন রোদ্র উঠে তখন অনেক কষ্ট আবার রাত্রেও অনেক গরম লাগে অনেক রাত্রেও ঘর ঠান্ডা হয় না তাপমাত্রাটা দিন দিন বাড়তি আছে মানে এখন কি আরো বাড়তেছে সামনের দিকে আরো বাড়বে এখনো থাকতে পারতেছি না সামনের দিকে কিভাবে থাকুম
Dhaka is getting hotter. In the last 20 years, the average daytime temperature has crept up by nearly half a degree. Days that approach 40 are now being reported. And high, so-called wet bulb temperatures are on the rise. A wet bulb temperature is a measure of heat and humidity. Humans cool themselves by sweating. But in these conditions, when relative humidity is near 100%, sweat doesn't evaporate well, so people can't cool down, even if given unlimited shade and water.
At a high wet bulb temperature, the body can't lose heat, and so it gets hotter and hotter. And the body is designed to work at a given temperature, and if it gets too hot inside, you will die.
The human limit for wet bulb temperatures is 35 degrees Celsius, around skin temperature. Dhaka will have a much higher chance of reaching dangerous wet bulb temperatures if global warming reaches 3 degrees.
You can't really adapt to that. You have to get out. If the temperature is so high that you can't work, can't do hard manual labor outside for significant parts of the year, then many places will become functionally no longer part of the economy.
Jacobabad in Pakistan and Ras Al Khaimah in the United Arab Emirates have already recorded deadly wet bulb temperatures. More of the tropics and the Persian Gulf, as well as parts of Mexico and the southeastern United States, could all get to this threshold by the end of the century. Climate modeling might show us the weather, but it doesn't show us its other effects on society. Established migration patterns could change. Climate disasters may exacerbate reasons people cross borders. Within countries, more people will move to cities. In a 3-degree world, tens of millions of people a year could be displaced by disasters made worse by climate change.
When people are displaced by climate, they may well go to cities because cities are the places that attract people from the countryside already. A lot of people who can get to the developed world, not least because the developed world tends to be less hot, will give that a go.
As migration around the world increases, there could be more competition for fewer resources. Water, already a highly contested resource, will be a focal point. Turkey's new Ilusu Dam has reduced the flow of water into Iraq. China lays claim to rivers vital to India and Pakistan.
The prospect of a water conflict makes people very uneasy.
China, backward, many China!
How national tensions would exacerbate those sorts of reactions in a 3-degree world is the sort of thing that no one should really want to find out. I think you'd have to be incredibly sanguine not to think that the sort of climate extremes that we talk about in a 3-degree world wouldn't lead some places to the brink of societal collapse.
Those lucky enough to escape unrest would still have to adapt to a radically different world.
People can adapt to climate change in all sorts of ways. One of the most obvious ones is air conditioning. But other ways to adapt at a local or regional level, I mean, one of the most obvious is diversifying agriculture. There are physical things you can do, like seawalls. The fact that people can adapt and that adaptation will reduce suffering doesn't mean that it will eliminate suffering. Suffering is built into this whole process of heating up the planet.
Adaptation will only get the world so far.
The best way to deal with a 3-degree world is not to go to a 3-degree world. And that's why increasing efforts on mitigation are important. It's why working towards negative emissions that could bring down the temperature after it peaks are important. Once you get to a 3-degree world, you are in real, bad, global trouble.
The scale of change needed and the slow progress of governments so far means 3 degrees of warming is uncomfortably likely unless more is done. Despite existing pledges, greenhouse gas emissions are still set to rise by 16% from 2010 levels by 2030. The need to act has never been clearer. There's still time to reduce emissions so that a 3-degree world remains fiction rather than becoming fact.
Thanks for watching. To read The Economist's cover package on what a 3-degree world might look like, click on the link. And don't forget to subscribe.
I remember before I went to work on Greenland, I was taught that the ice was frozen at the bed. And so the response of the ice to human-caused climate change was measured in many thousands of years. After studying Greenland ice and climate for the last 20 years, I come to understand that the ice is melting much faster than we thought possible. And this is because we keep finding new factors multiplying each other to produce ice response that is faster than forecast. In politics, to understand what's happening, it's useful to follow the money. In Greenland, and with climate change, it's useful to follow the meltwater. Melting has increased at the surface of Greenland. More water dumping into the ice sheet heats the ice internally, lubricating faster sliding at the bottom and driving a stronger heat exchange between the ice and a warming ocean. There are many other multipliers of ice response to heating, and I keep finding more. These are multipliers not in climate models used to predict the future. because the human species has been so slow in reacting to climate change. We are now beyond the time when small adjustments will fix the problem.
Well, we hope
that was pretty scary.
you enjoyed Dystopian movie night. I think that it was, pretty pretty good, and I was really glad, Jen, that you sent me that video. And when I saw it on YouTube and realized almost, I think 850,000 by now have seen it in the comment section, insane on The Economist.
It's only been out like 5 days.
I know. They
6
did
days.
an excellent job, and I hope I don't get a copyright strike, or anything, but it was well, and then Clover from the first, her information on her organization is in the show notes already. She has a voice. I really liked her, and I found that clip, and I said, I made that clip. I had to do it. I had to share it. So I hope everybody felt, we're all there. We all understand. Billy Joe says he feels privileged to live today. We feel privileged to live today too, because we're really living in the best of times, but the worst of times. What would you add to that, Jen?
Oh, it's a time to be living on many levels simultaneously. It kind of creates a split reality feeling when you understand the gravity and the magnitude and the significance of this moment that we're living in. And it also makes you feel like you're walking in a world of sleepwalkers, And honestly, I do believe that this is humanity's most desperate hour. And it's just hard to even get a Build It Back Better bill through Congress. It's totally fucked. It's just like,
there you go.
Like, how are we ever going to possibly get together on anything? China and Russia didn't even go to the COP. That was their little fuck you
And here,
statement.
I'm going to show you this this article that just pissed me right off today. As Moscow turns down the coal deal at COP26, Russian miners get ready for a big Arctic dig. How much does that piss you off? Like, big time. Big time. It just does.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting, humanity is showing their true colors. The meaning of apocalypse is not disaster. The meaning of apocalypse is revelation, is revealing what is hidden. And we're seeing what we're made of. And will humanity at large wake up and rise to the occasion? I don't think so.
Well, from what I've seen, I watched. We Don't Have Time.
There's greatness. There's greatness. There's pockets of greatness.
Absolutely.
There's pockets of beauty. This is a moment for, great art. Sandy, look at the art that you've put out. It amazes me. I'm serious. And that's just an example. It's such a critical situation. It affects everybody differently. And some people really kind of like fly to the highest that they can. And then there's this disillusion into madness and selfishness that you see on the other hand. So there's a great polarization. Here in the US anyway, it's pretty much 50-50, and that's the crazy part.
It really is. We really are a crazy split. As you said, we cannot even get a bill, and then they're cutting the bill and cutting all the good stuff out. They're cutting the climate change stuff out without the United States, China, India, and Russia. What's the point? But as I was saying before, I was watching We Don't Have Time, and they are the ultra capitalist climate change people. All of their all of their work has to do with economies, and I mean, very interesting stuff. Watching the CEOs, watching the corporation people talk about renewables, talk about green energy, talk about phasing out, and it's all because of profits. I wish it was because of caring about the environment as much as we do or others do, but
Hmm.
it's a bottom line. It's another profit opportunity, and a little bit maybe more a little bit more important. And I was listening to Bill McKibben, and he had said, well, the we should celebrate because divestment in fossil fuels in Shell has gotten to be
Hmm.
up in the billions. So, but it's incrementalism. And do we have no choice. We're it's going to be incrementalism. We have no choice.
Hmm.
Right? All
Very
right.
true. Very true.
So did you want to show and talk about the pictures on this most beautiful article? And I want to play around trying to
Oh
get us
yeah,
back. I
totally.
don't know what happened to us. We're not in it. But let me see if I
That's
can make
cool.
these pictures as big as I can. And Jennifer's gonna
That's nice right there.
right
Yeah.
there. Jennifer's going to
Yeah.
talk about this article, which from the
Okay.
Siberian Times. So let Jennifer go. I'll get the pictures so you can see them. They're gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah.
Tragic.
Well, this is pretty amazing. Siberia is a lot worse than advertised, than expected, and nobody does Siberia like the Siberian Times. I mean, of course, and they're known for their good photo montages. So this is one of their photo montages. Siberia's stark warning to Scotland for COP26: climate
Mm-hmm.
change in the planet's last great wilderness. So Siberia's God, the fires in Siberia were so much worse than I ever expected,
Oh,
and it's
completely.
incredible. It's
Completely.
absolutely incredible. So the first part they have is a section about bubbling methane. So we all know methane is a big problem, and it is coming up all over the permafrost and in the Arctic Ocean along the Siberian coast. That would be the Kara Sea, the Laptev Sea, the East Siberian Sea, all
Mm-hmm.
throughout there. And you can see pictures of this methane just continually seeping up
In
through the
this?
ocean.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I don't have. Is that in here? Do I have to go down more? Just tell me what you want me to
You
do.
just have to keep kind of scrolling down.
Okay.
You'll see
You do
that
the
first
talking,
section.
and I'll
Yeah,
do the
I'll just
scrolling,
kind of
baby.
talk away. And they've been studying it a lot. This is a really interesting article. Sandy will put the link in the
Oh,
show notes.
absolutely.
And you
Mm-hmm.
can see the voyages that they've done, the different sea voyages that they've done in the Barents Sea, the Kara Sea, the Laptev Sea, the East Siberian Sea, and the Chukchi Sea. All of those areas are on continental shelves. Really, this is just recently submerged permafrost. We have to take the greater look at things. 10,000 years is not that long ago, and uh, these seas recently appeared from the last ice age. During the last ice age, of course, you couldn't even see the dry land, but it was not under the sea. So 400 feet of sea level rise. These guys are only like 50 meters deep or so, very, very shallow seas. So they were all above land, and all that vegetation, of course, went in and is rotted and turned into methane clathrate. And there's some very dramatic pictures, Sandy, of the gas hydrates in the kind of like it looks like flat pancakes. Do you see that one? It looks like lots of
I'm going.
flat little pancakes.
I'm going.
And
As
it's
long as I
kind
don't
of
make
it's
everybody
just it's
sick.
very beautiful, but it's very scary. That's what it
Flat
looks like
pancakes.
when yeah, kind
This.
of
Here
like
we
white
go.
pancakes.
There we
kind of
go.
like white pancakes in the ice. And that's actually true photograph, and that's what it looks like.
Wow.
So that's one thing that's happening in Siberia. Then we go on to the Yamal craters, which we've talked so much about over the years, and they're just so dramatic. So there's several pictures in here of the craters in the Yamal Peninsula, and there are over 700 or 7,000 mounds of raised earth where the methane has kind of built up and is raising the earth in a little hillock, you know, but only a couple of hundred of those are deemed ripe for the bursting. You know, they have to have a certain amount of methane, and you know the it just all has to be in the right thing. But there's a little map there. You can see where different craters have been found. So that's another interesting manifestation, especially it's very
Ooh,
dramatic,
look
you
at
know.
that. That's insane. Can you imagine falling down
What?
in there?
Yeah.
Those pictures, they're just we've
Yeah.
showed before, but they just are so dramatic. Is right. Here's your map. There's your map. The the heave
Yeah.
mounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these are the ones that actually burst, and they're called, for some reason, B1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's been a lot more that have burst than that. But, you
Wow.
know, we'll see what happens in the future, you know, as more methane starts to go from the frozen state to the gaseous state and expand the exponential uh, when methane goes from the frozen to the gas, it expands an incredible amount because it's released from its bounds, and it's very, very expansive and very, very explosive, you know.
Wow.
So let's see what the next
Wow.
thing is. Then the next thing is the wonky railways, twisted roads, collapsing buildings. This is all pictures of infrastructure that has gone to hell in the permafrost in Siberia, and you can see, you know, buildings are just falling down. Train tracks, look at those freaking train tracks. They're just, can you believe that, Sandy?
No,
Kind of
but it is.
amazing,
It's right in
right?
front of us. I'd like to get up there
Yeah.
and see Greenland and all this myself, but I
Yeah.
know it'll never happen. So I live through all of these wonderful,
That's
magnificent
right.
pictures that we're able to get from these amazing writers and journalists that show the world what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Well, this looks like
then
where I
there's
live.
a, let me see what you're looking at here.
The Jeep.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's my driveway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just stay with you. Yeah, just keep going down. There's some other really good pictures coming up of
Ooh, look at the side. Look at
I
the
don't
the
even
mountainside on that.
yeah.
Wow.
And see
That's from
that
freezing. Is
that
that from
was not
thawing?
like that before. You know,
Wow.
it's just all collapsing because it's
That's
full of ice, and the permafrost is full of ice, and ice
ooh, it is. Wow.
and ice takes up quite a bit of room, so when it melts and it just goes away. I mean, look at this perma slump, you
Oh, look
know?
at that.
Kind of
Perma-slump. Is this a
amazing.
new word from Jennifer? Perma-slump?
As of right now. I just made
All
it up.
right. We've got perma-slump in the house. Jennifer, perma-mush and perma-slump. You've seen it first here.
Yeah.
Or heard it first here. Okay, so now
Yeah.
look at the
And then
wires there.
yeah. Yeah.
They
So that is all pretty freaking stunning.
jeez.
And then they have one, the fourth item they have in here about how Siberia is falling apart is the mouth of hell is opening wider. New satellite image shows the widening of the Badagal Depression. It is a mega slump. Oh, look at that. A mega slump. Um, maybe I read it and I was just thinking it.
Yeah.
Nicknamed after the local residents as the mouth of hell.
Oh,
It is a
God.
tadpole-shaped giant hole, and it measures, it's It started in the 60s. There's actually a little sequence that shows, but it is
There
actually
is?
a little bit further down that shows kind of like how this thing evolved. It's
Okay.
absolutely huge. It's 100 meters deep and it's 1,000 meters in length, and it has the width of
It
800 meters.
changes.
So this thing
Holy
is
crap.
very, very big. And look how huge this thing is, Sandy. This
Look
thing
how
is
it's
just like the
changed.
gaping. Yeah,
Look at
it's
it. See
changed.
how
It
it's changed from
started
68? Oh my.
Yeah. And this thing is just like, I don't know. I don't know what you can say about it, you know? It's the mouth of hell. And it was all flat forest, and now look at it. So
Wow.
that's
Wow.
what can happen, you know?
Wow. Let's go down a
So
little bit.
yeah. So the fifth thing
Oh.
is the unlocking of zombie diseases.
Well, we're already there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
really, right? We're here, and you know, Jennifer, I just heard that in Iowa, the deer in Iowa have COVID. Hunters are killing. Yeah, it's like the deer in Iowa. Now, I didn't verify. I thought it was a reputable
Wow.
source. I haven't looked at the state of Iowa DEC or
Huh.
any of that yet, but it was something I
Did
thought
they
that was.
evolve their own COVID, or did they get COVID from
That I don't
humans?
know. I didn't get it. I wasn't up to doing all that today, so
Mm.
I didn't. I'm sorry, but it might be something to look forward to
Yeah,
or look at.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So where are
Yeah.
we going now?
Well, we're talking about zombie diseases,
Yeah,
and born-again anthrax in the Yamal Peninsula has been released and has killed both humans and reindeer. This
yeah. That was really
came
sad.
up from the basically the thawing permafrost, and it's pretty scary, you know.
That
These
it
zombie
is. But of
diseases
course,
are
half the world, three-quarters of the world are in denial. Nothing's going to happen to them. And that's
well,
not
that's good for
denial.
them.
That's not a river in Egypt. It's
Not a river in Egypt.
denial. Yeah,
Yeah.
denial. Yeah, now look at
Yeah.
this. This
See
was
what you're looking
graveyards
at.
here. You see it? See what I'm looking at?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they now the permafrost is thawing and it reopens graveyards. Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
The haunting
Ugh.
that must go on up there.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it is.
So scary.
And
And then the sixth section that this article has, wildfires burning all year, peat fires active
there's a
in
video.
minus 60 degrees Z cold. Now this is a little video. If you can play that video,
gonna
it's
try.
pretty amazing.
Let's get
She
it going.
digs up some zombie fires. Oh yeah, you
Did
see
we
the
see it?
zombie fires in the
Yeah.
distance?
Oh my.
Those are fires.
Wow.
Siberia.
Wow.
Yeah, never
Look at
goes
that.
out.
Never goes out. There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet. She digs one up.
Вот мы и пришли на то место. Вот смотрите, как выглядит. Вот так вот.
So like 10 years ago, this didn't exist.
Ага.
No. No, this is all new because it's reached this tipping point now.
The indigenous people have to deal with this.
Yeah, he digs
Wow.
this one up and it starts like smoking and smoking more and more.
Look at that.
It's in there in the permafrost. See how it's all jelly?
Yeah. It looks like oil, and it's not. Look at that.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
Look at
insane.
that.
This is
I know.
Siberia. You never think
Yeah.
that there would be smoldering fires that never go out because of the changes. Oh, Jen,
Yeah.
this
I
is
know.
so sad and disturbing
I
and
know.
horrible and
I
awful.
know. It's very disturbing.
What have we done? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
What hath we wrought?
What hath we wrought?
Indeed. So there's that. I think that's pretty much all there
Yeah.
is to that movie. I don't know how
All
long he
right.
digs.
Yeah, it's gone.
And
And then
yeah.
there's more.
And then they go on to floods and droughts.
Well, there's
So
more wildfires. You want to
um,
look at this video? In
yeah,
Kabayaski?
yeah,
Let's see this one.
yeah, totally. It's movie night.
It's movie night.
Oh wow. Oh my God.
Look at that. We
one.
forgot about this one. Wowie wow. These were 2021
This is all just streaming smoke from all the wildfires in Siberia.
because of the temperature changes.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
The permafrost drying out.
And
thawing
800
then drying
million
out.
tons. 800 million tons. Oh my God. Of carbon dioxide from just this year. All right, now go ahead and let's.
Yeah. So then we have a section that's about floods and droughts. And there's been a lot of both in Siberia. So Siberia can experience floods and droughts. At the same time, a weather roller coaster of lashing rains, but also lengthy parched periods without precipitation. So, they are getting it at both ends. And look at those Siberian buildings. They're just like standing in this fetid water, right?
Well, this is not a scene just in Siberia. I mean, we've seen in Scotland. We've seen it in the UK. We've seen it in Germany. We've seen
Yeah.
it in Italy. We've seen it in the United States. We've seen it everywhere. Everywhere. Yes.
Yeah.
It is dystopian,
So true.
Rich. It is dystopian. But it's not, this is not Hollywood, babe. This is not
Yeah.
Hollywood.
And then the big bonus, we now have the Northern Sea Route, and they're able to sail across
Look at
the Siberian side of the Arctic Ocean. And the crews that have done this encountered no significant ice flows across thousands of nautical miles. So just to make sure that there's no ice, they've got lots of icebreakers up there to smash up whatever ice they do run into, which is just a great thing.
It said how different from
You know.
142 years earlier. And
Yeah.
here's the route. There's
Yeah, here's the
route,
route.
Zen. Yeah.
You
They
can
go.
see exactly where you can
Mhm.
go. It's pretty amazing. So, this is the world up in Siberia, and as everybody knows, the Arctic is warming 4 to 5 times faster than the Earth in general. It's a very beautiful picture of the northern lights there through the ship's rigging. I don't know if you see that one. Is the last picture.
I'm going.
Very pretty.
Look at the rigging there. Oh, look at that.
Isn't that beautiful?
Wow, that is just unreal. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very surreal,
Wow.
right?
See, there's beauty
Very
within
surreal.
all of the dystopian scenes we see. There's beauty in all of it. In all of it.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
the most hideous
absolutely.
things can be beautiful. Wow,
Yeah.
Jen.
No,
this
it is.
was,
We live on a mysterious, magical world. It's so unlikely. We're
We do.
spinning on a ball of molten iron, basically,
Well,
throughout the universe. And
this
we
was
are alive. And that in
Here we
itself
are.
is kind of amazing. The Earth is a very, very, very special place. And it's been through many, many different calamities and extinctions. And this one is the big one. and we
This
can
one is
feel
the
it.
big
We
one.
can feel the weight of it, and
I was
it's a very hard
listening
thing to contend with. That's
listening
why
to
they try and contend with it, but they don't really contend with it. You know what I mean, Sandy? I mean, a lot of people actually do, but at
oh,
large,
more and
like
more, more and more.
more and more. Poor Prince Charles, God, I just wish give that man some adrenaline. I almost fell asleep in his speech, poor guy. And he tries. He's an
Well,
environmentalist, but he's also the crown prince.
why don't we give him the environmental coffee house Prince Charles flush of the day? Okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've had some show. We made it the hour. I didn't think I'd be able to stay awake. We have Greg and Vegematics with us, and Max and Jean from Costa Rica. Thank you, everyone. And Trulia Aghast, I love her name. I'm sorry for the loss of your kitty. She lost her kitty, and that's so sad. But so we have a couple of things that we need to tell you guys about the channel. So hang on, guys.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Now I can tell you, are you all sitting down, lords and ladies?
Yes, yeah.
That's
Please
the
tell us.
actual COP26 introduction that I recorded.
You did.
That's what that was what came over the loudspeaker, so I recorded it, decided to use it here, and I forgot to use it earlier, but I had to use it. So as long as all the ladies and gentlemen, we have a show on the 19th with Dean Walker. That's going to be a interesting show, dealing with our climate grief. We were supposed to do this today, and I wasn't sure I could do the show justice because of all the, how my life is all the time. So that's the 19th. And Jennifer, what else do we have coming up? At the moment, I've got a couple.
Didn't you have Dar Jamal?
Oh, Dar is busy with Abby Martin, doing a movie now. They're doing a movie, and I'm not going to bug him. And then I do have the Women's Night is planned. I just we don't have a date yet for our ladies' night. We are going to have our ladies' night. We don't have the date yet, but we will. And we've got some good stuff coming up, guys. And we have Professor Jacobson's probably going to join us. He's a Twitter follower. And so, but then, you know what? We've got each other, Jennifer, and that's what counts. We've got each other.
Yes, and we also have pussycats.
Oh, yeah. I can't let any of mine in.
And
we have Kim, our wonderful mod, and we have Hunter, our other wonderful mod, and oh gosh, look at Kevin Hesser's with us. Hello, Kevin. Hi, Kev. I see Kevin on online. Kevin, we're in the. And oh, Scott, you missed it. Scott's great, giving me some help with what kind of hot water heater I might get if I ever get one. I'll be boiling water on the stove, or I'll say one thing about this whole hot water thing. I have a wood stove. You put the water on there. You have hot water. I'm gonna have to do it like they did it in the old days, like my grandma did, like they did it, or great grandparents.
It's not that bad. You can deal with it for a little while.
I'm dealing with it. What is it? What's the statistic of the amount of the world that doesn't even have hot water? So I'm not even upset. I was more upset though that it leaked. But then, as I was making a joke with Paul, it leaked down through the wall onto my soon-to-be access crap. Didn't even wreck anything, but it was all wet. I was like, okay. Just desserts. All right, guys. Anyway, Jen, how would you like to do the closing monologue?
Well, Hollywood is very successful because, we all subconsciously know that we're living in this time of huge transition. And just like the ancient Greeks, with their cathartic plays, we like to look at Hollywood and all these kind of apocalyptic and dystopian movies. I'm a great fan of dystopian movies. I am ever fascinated to watch them. But because it helps us deal and put into a place in our minds, gives us almost like a mental infrastructure to start to deal with the horror or the future horror. It hasn't really hit full stream yet. And this is the time we're living in. So it's our noble task to try and contend with these times and these situations, our predicament. So our dystopian predicament. So, we also have to kind of laugh, and you can get too unbalanced about it all and get too freaked out. So that's why communities like Environmental Coffee House exist.
Yeah, there's lots, but we're a good one. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We really, really appreciate it. Jennifer, I love you. And I will end us with an old